Hi, and welcome back. On the last video, we wrapped up an iOS app, which allows us to log moods. Let's do a quick review of that to make sure we're all on the same page, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do today. All right, so in the last video series, I built out this mood tracker with you guys. It's just a way to log a mood, so you can select a mood here, click save, it saves it to swiftData. If we look up the mood history, we can take a look at, the history for the last few days. You can navigate by month. And then the only other thing that is not there that I added after the series was complete was this analytics tab. If you click the analytics tab, it will show you a Swift chart, and this is a donut chart that shows you some analytics for the last 7 days or last 30 days. It's just something to make this app a little bit more interesting. But that code I'll push right after this video. There's a GitHub link in the description if you want to download this and check it out. Today, though, we are going to be talking about enhancing this app. There are a lot of mood apps on the App Store, and a way that you can differentiate yourself from other apps that have similar functionality is by adding something a little bit different, like a Siri shortcut. I think a Siri shortcut is a cool way to differentiate yourself because it's a way for a user to log their mood without ever opening your app, right? They can do a shortcut, they can say, "Hey Siri," they can add custom actions. And, another thing about adding a Siri shortcut is if you're not intending to distribute an app like this, it also creates for a really interesting portfolio project. You can show employers like, I've added Siri shortcuts before, or if they're just looking through the apps that are on your portfolio, they could see that you've added a Siri shortcut, and that might interest them enough to add a Siri shortcut to their own app, and then they might hire you just to add that Siri shortcut. So it's something to add to your resume. It's also something that could be used to differentiate your app that you're making, or if you're just learning and you want to learn how to add a framework or an app extension, this is the video for you. Just a little bit about me. I have worked with the previous framework for Siri Shortcut. So the previous framework was Intents and Intents UI. So here, instead of importing AppIntents like you do today, if you import Intents and Intents UI, these two are the older frameworks. They're a lot more clunky, they have a lot more boilerplate, they're less performative, they just overall are pretty difficult to work with, in my opinion. Starting with iOS 16 and up, we can now use the new AppIntents framework. So AppIntents is a new framework for Siri, and it's so much easier. And I'll show you how to work with that today. All right, so the very first thing is we need to define what our shortcut is going to do. So we're going to have to create a new file. You can right click and add a new file, or you can just select something inside of your project and do a Command N, add a Swift file. And here is where we're going to name our file. So double click, and I'm going to call this log mood intent, create. And the first thing you're going to want to do is import AppIntents. And then we're going to create a new struct, and that's going to be log mood intent, and we're going to inherit AppIntent. So we need to conform to this new protocol called AppIntent. Most of the time, what I do is when I want to conform to a protocol is just build. But if you do that with AppIntent, you're going to see some stuff that doesn't really make sense or isn't really helpful, at least. So it says perform result, summary of content, blah, blah, blah. And I don't find that helpful. So let's start with a clean slate. The things that you do need to add are a title. There is an optional description. So the title is just used to name your mood. So when a user is looking in the Shortcuts app and they're trying to find your shortcut, then the title is what's going to show up. For example, here, if I look at files, these are the names. These are the titles of these shortcuts. And then if you click through, there should be a description somewhere. So we can definitely add a description to help users understand what your shortcut does. So we need a title. We're going to add a description. So description. And this is the way I like to work. I like to add comments and then flesh out the comments as we go. We're going to need a parameter. So the parameters are the dynamic portions of your shortcuts. For example, this create folder one had these to parameters, right? These are the things that you can change. If you click it, you can change it. So what's the path? You can look for the path. What's the folder that you want to create it in? These are the parameters. So for us, it's going to be the mood. The mood is just going to be the only thing that's going to change every time the user runs the app. That's going to be the mood. And then we needed to have a perform function. Once we get the mood from the user, what do you want to do with that? What do you want to perform? We're going to need some kind of perform function. It's not going to look like this, but something like that. All right, so these are the things we need. Let's start fleshing it out. This is a title, and for app intent title, what we need to use is this localized string resource. This is a way to pull a localized string kind of like automatically. It just looks for your localizable strings file and just pulls the value for log my mood. I don't want to go too much into this, but I'm going to very quickly show you because I think it's really beneficial to know this as well. Same way that we added this log mood intent file, we're going to add a localizable file. So click somewhere, do a command N, and then here in filter, we can search for strings or string, whatever. We're going to add a new string catalog. Just leave it called localizable. That's what most people call it, and just click create. And then we have English. Spanish is in here from something else I was working on. Usually just comes with English, and then we can add our keys here. So we can add log my mood, and the value for log my mood is obviously log my mood in English. You can add an optional comment, but most people, and I mean, I don't think I've ever added a comment for a string, but it's there if needed. And we're going to add one for a description too. So let's just go ahead and add our description. Okay, so for our description, it uses this intent description thing, and it also takes in the key to your localizable file. So, okay, so then same thing, logs your mood in the mood tracker app. Cool. And you could do the same thing in Spanish if you want. So because I have added Spanish, it automatically adds the keys for me, but I don't have the Spanish version. I think there are like easy ways you can use Google to just translate it for now. I wouldn't have a production ready app with Spanish that I got from Google. You'll definitely want to make sure that those things are correct. But yeah, for now, let's just use Google to tell me what those things mean. Nice. Okay, so now we have some English and Spanish here, and then we can go back to our mood intent. All right, let's add the parameter for mood. There's something we need to do here. And so our parameter is going to look like this. And then if we build this, we are going to get an error. And that's because mood doesn't conform to an enum that an intent can use. So we need to add something to mood to make this run. So let's just add the perform function, build, and then it's going to give us the errors. I'm just going to add a basic perform function, and then we'll go over what it does. Ignore this for now. It's just so that this will compile without complaining that we don't have a perform function. Let's just focus on the parameter. And it's giving us an error. And it's saying that, this parameter doesn't conform to what we need it to conform to, which is app enum. We could use mood.raw value, which would be the string, and it won't complain if this is a string. But we do want it to work with, at least I want to work with moods. It gives us a little bit more flexibility. So if we jump here, we can add this new protocol. It's called AppInum. And then if we build this, it's going to tell us, there's problems. And then here, actually, we can start fixing those things. So yeah, let's import AppIntent and then build. And then if we fix it here, this is what I would expect to see. So when we were trying to fix the previous thing, but yeah, we need to provide a type display representation. This can be just a string that says this is what it's going to look like as a description for this enum in Siri Shortcuts, and we're just going to say mood. And then here is expecting a dictionary. And the keys for the dictionary is every single mood that you got. So you're going to have the dot notation like dot very unpleasant, dot pleasant, whatever. And then display representation. For us, that's just going to be a string. It's just going to describe what this means. And it can very well be all of these. But I want to add some emojis. I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. So we got the keys as all the moods, and then we have the values as, an emoji and then some description. And built. Let's see if this is happy. Okay, it's happy. so let's go back to our log mood intent and let's talk about the perform function. Okay, the perform function is what happens when your Siri shortcut has obtained its mood, like what's the next step. For this here, we're going to return an intent result, which is this dot result, and we are also going to make this conform to the provides dialog thing, which means that I want to show a dialog when this finishes. I want the user to see a dialog when the shortcut is completed. This is the very next thing I want to talk about. Before you run this, you need to realize two things. One is that we need to ask for permission from the user to use Siri. And then the other thing is we cannot run this on a simulator. I've tried, it doesn't work. And then when I did some research, everybody was saying, hey, just run it on your phone. And there are going to be a few hiccups trying to run this on your phone, and we'll work through them. Let's add the Siri shortcut usage string to the info.p list. You're going to want to click mood tracker all the way up here, and you're going to want to go to info. And then under info, this is where you want to add this key if you don't see it. So this key is under privacy, Siri usage description, add that. And then this value can be whatever you want it to be, but I encourage you to write something to tell your users why you're asking for Siri permission. And of course, we want Siri permission so that we can log the user's mood through Siri. Okay, so now I want to run this on my phone. So I'm dropping down to my phone, and then you might get something that says, hey, you might be running a lower deployment target, and you might be running iOS 17 or iOS 18.0 or something like that. If that's the case, try to change the minimum deployment here. You might get some issues because we've added some things here in our application that only works on certain versions of iOS. You might have to change some things around. The other option you have is to upgrade your phone. That's also something you can do. And your final option is to run it on a different device. Maybe you have an iPad that runs a later version of iOS. Try that. But that's what needs to be done to test this stuff. Cool. All right, so you have your info.p list, you have general, and now you're going to try to run it on your phone. Another just really small side note is if you want to do something like this, if you want to record something and you want to show someone what's happening on your phone, hack, basically, even if it's for work, I use this at work if I want to share with my coworkers or with QA what's going on my phone on Macs, just run QuickTime. And then you can say new movie recording. Once you do new movie recording, you can drop down and select your phone. So under screen, it's going to say like Andy's phone or whatever, and that's what you want to select. So here is QuickTime, and then here you can screen Andy's phone, and then that's that. Okay, so I'm going to try to run this on my phone now. I'm going to stop and then run. We're all set with this for now. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to see is probably this. And it's saying that, hey, you are not trusted to run this. So you need to figure that out. You need to provide trust to this developer. And this is saying go to your phone. So go to your phone and go to VPN and device management. Under that, that's where you want to trust your developer. So right under here, you want to click developer app. You're going to see trust your name, whatever, and then trust, and then allow. And then you should be good. So now I'm going to try to run again. And now I actually do get the app running. So sometimes this takes a little bit to launch. Don't be afraid of that. It sometimes just works that way. Okay, it finally loaded. Great. So the app is working. And another really cool thing about the new Siri Shortcuts framework is that you don't have to register your shortcut. Like previously you would have to register your shortcut. This just does it automatically. You run the app once and it knows to automatically donate your intent to the system. All right, so let's open up the Shortcuts app. All right, so when you open up the Shortcuts app, you should see something a little bit like this. And if I click the plus button on the top right-hand corner, I can search for my mood tracking app. And cool, there it is. There's our shortcut. So I can click that shortcut and I can select a mood here. So it says mood, and I can select any of the moods that we've said is a parameter here, or we could just say ask each time. What this means is every time the shortcut runs, then the very next thing to do now is to store the mood in swiftData. Right now, it's saying that we've logged your mood. We haven't actually logged anything. So right here is where we want to store our mood to our shared container with our main app. And that is what we're going to talk about on the next episode. Thank you for sticking around, and I hope to see you next time.